Wholesome and Wild, Folláin is Fiáin. Sacred Messages, Eolas, Naofa, a special podcast series with Kathleen Farren and Sandra Saradesi.
Welcoming our special guest, Linda Bellatti. A warm welcome to you for this Sacred Messages podcast with myself, Kathleen Farren, and Sandra Saradesi, and our guest, Linda Bellatti. Welcome, Linda. Welcome, Sandra.
Thank you. It's an honor and a privilege to have our voices heard through this divine channel. Thank you for facilitating this, Kathleen.
Thank you so much, Kathleen, for having me tonight. I really appreciate it very much. It means everything to me. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And I bring, before we get into the introductions and the body of the messages, I'd like to share from the Secrets of Rejuvenation from the Seer Almin and the Saradesi records of the motherland. When I read this just a few minutes ago, I felt my heart filling with hope. And this is exactly the point where we must be expanding our vibration into hope. So this is just to enhance the little flame so that we become a strong flame, and no wind, no water could put that flame off for you. So from the records of the motherland, the Saradesi records, I'm just going to read in English because it's also in the language of the Infinite Mother here. The great masters birthed themselves out of mortality as soon as they stepped out of their human past. From long forgotten origins, well springs of resources enliven and wipe the illusions of age from the face. Newness is eternally reborn. In balanced levitation and gravitation, longevity finds its eternal root. Live now in equilibrium of black and white light, that the illusion of limitation may have no hold.
Beautiful.
And I would like to dedicate this message to our beloved Gaia, our Mother Earth, as we honor these profound principles that are not principles, they are to be lived by us. We expand this vibration onto the earth that has been feeling hopeless. So that's my gift to the earth today, among others.
Thank you for the gift of hope.
Thank you so much for that, Sandra.
And thank you to the Seer Almin for the book that you just read from, the Rejuvenation book. Well, we're honored now to get to know Linda a wee bit better. We have in common a few things like the Fountain of Plenitude, which we will explore more. So Linda Bellatti, you live there in Baton Rouge in Louisiana, where you run the Luminous Advanced Aesthetics and Wellness. So I know that it's a sanctuary of good energy for people who come for the various treatments you offer, and one, amongst them is facials. And I'm interested to hear more about your integrating the the tools, and how you'll be able to offer this to more people in the future.
Sure. My technique has always been a bit different, and there are various facials that I do, anywhere from just a European type facial all the way to a clinical facial. But as long as I'm touching someone or working on someone, there's this energy that I feel that comes through my hands. And I've had this for a long time. I've been in the business for quite some time now, only until I've started studying Almin and learning the principles, I've been able to understand what it is. And by going through the ceremonies and different, and learning the different sigils, I actually feel feel the energy just coming through. And when I give a facial, someone is lying on my table, and it's very quiet. I don't speak other than taking an intake or just asking a few preliminary questions. But when the facial is complete, the light on the person it's enormous. And I didn't know what that was in the beginning, but the more that I studied, the more that the reality came to me, and in many ways. So it's just a gift that I have, and Almin has been the one to really interpret it into something to where I have an understanding of it. And it's even as I'm working in my space, and there are a lot of people around me in other rooms and in the spa area. Over time, if there's a disruptive force, or if there's something that's not balanced, or there are problems, I feel like if I'm working in my center, then those issues will sort of resolve itself out. But usually it's a chaotic situation, and then eventually it'll come to a norm of peace and harmony. So when I work in my center, and not only working on the body or the person, but I also have a sense of what's going on around me as well. Because in that environment, a spa sanctuary is what it's supposed to be, from the music to the scents in the room, the person at the table, if they've had a hard day, and I hear a lot of things that my clients share with me that are private, and I explain to them in my own way to help them in many ways, not only for their skin conditions, but their life or problems at home.
Mm-hmm.
So everything just works hand in hand.
I want to go and visit. When you say
no, you already went. She's talking, and I can see you, and you're
I'm
in the
already
massage
there.
table. Oh my God, she's lying. She wants to go. She's already there. Haha.
I'll have to come to. I've been wanting to go visit Ireland.
Oh really? Oh
and
my goodness.
That's been one of my places. I've not traveled, because I have traveled around the world, and there's always been a special place in Ireland. I remember seeing this movie, The Mist of Avalon, and it was an amazing movie. This was probably 25 years ago. And I read the book, and I've always wanted to go there, because I know that energy is very special. Mm-hmm. And I feel drawn to visit. So
I'd be honored to assist you in your visit here, and the kettle's always on, as they say.
Yeah.
And I have friends who would know all about these mystical places and sacred sites, and
that would be
coming
fantastic.
alive. It's coming alive in us. And actually, I wanted to ask when you, because I really was feeling into what you were talking about as you were describing your sanctuary, the Luminous wellness place. And when you said, I work in my center, I was like, what does that feel like? What do you mean by that? Can you let us know what that means to you?
Well, if there's chaotic energy around me, and if I'm working in my center, and I ground myself in my hands, and I'm just working in my space, and as long as I'm doing my job and what I'm supposed to be doing, I feel that there's a special energy force around me in my sphere that will it has a tendency to balance it out through other people. And it's very difficult to explain, because if I go outside, if I have to tell someone we need to use our spa voice, or, is Mrs. So-and-so here, or, there's so many things that's going on at one time, because not only am I in working with this client, I've got to, at the end, I've got to think about what I have to do next to prepare for the next person. It has to be really quick. So it's like Almeen used to say, sometimes we have three brains, or three brains, that we're communicating with. And I feel that sometimes when I'm in that space, that you have to be expanded in a certain way, so that the flow of my work, of what I'm responsible for, can be at ease and harmonic, and have a peace, because we are in a spa environment. But when I moved here, I was working at a spa, this was years ago, here in Louisiana, quite different than the one that I was working in Arizona, the resort. They just didn't get it. And it took about 3 months for the right energy with all the elements coming together, as far as the flow of the customer, the satisfaction of the customer, the protocols that we had to learn, and everyone working in syncopation with what we're supposed to be doing. It's almost like we're a group of people that needs to act as one energy and flow with it. And the reason why I know that it was difficult here, but eventually it worked out, when I was at the spa at the resort in Arizona, we had 20 treatment rooms and many therapists, and it was really fast. So all the therapists, that we were just acting as one, and we had to have a certain quickness and think really fast, and because time was of the essence, and we had to be perfect. We had to, the estheticians, we must have our face, our lipstick on and everything beautified. And when we're running around from room to room, we only have a 10-minute working changeover time. But from the time we pick up the guests, it's showtime, and everything has to be totally perfect. Otherwise, we get written up. But it worked. And that flow of energy, it was amazing. We had so many things. It was a spa that was based on the Native American and Asian environment. So there were a lot of Native American protocols and energy work, ceremonial as well. We had a labyrinth that was amazing. So we had a lot of things that was going on, and the more that you knew, that the more that you were able to give to the customers, the more valuable you were. So as a team, we worked in syncopation. It was beautiful. We had amazing. We had a shaman on board. We had healers all over. People would come all over the world to see us. But I tried to bring
Linda,
that.
You mentioned, sorry to interrupt, is this the place where you said that people will seek you from different parts of the world. Naofa means the seers means teachings, and your hands were able to activate those principles in people's faces. Is this the place? I just want to make
Yes.
sure that we bring this in because it's important.
Correct.
Okay.
Actually,
And how long were you there? Because I am feeling that it was kind of
I started in 2002, and when I became an esthetician in 2003 is when I started working with energy. I didn't know about Almin until 2010. So I was working with the energies. And then as I started studying with Almin, it came to me what the truth was and what the true teachings are. And so I was able to transform into that, because as I'm giving a healing session, there's different things that I was taught to do in the beginning, but I actually would feel the Belvas Vata angels, or the sigils would just come through my body, even though that was not on our protocol standard. But through me, Almin's teachings were coming through. So I had to say one thing, that I was doing something on the menu of services, but whenever they came to see me, they were getting Almin, the teachings about me.
Yes, that's beautiful. Kathleen, do you have a question, or should I go ahead?
Oh, well, go ahead. I'm intrigued by the whole thing. I'm just like imagining being on the table and like feeling something that I hadn't felt before, and that it corresponds to a principle or an angelic gift through the sigils.
Absolutely. And many times, I would see visions of angels around in the room, and they would light up. I would, even if I was many mornings, I would walk, take hikes in the desert and in the mountains. And I had so many different experiences that were, or I'd have Almin, I'm listening to her, and then I would just see like the hawks would follow me. There were one time there were like 5 hawks, white-tailed hawks on my route, and they would follow me every day. 5 white-tailed hawks. They were beautiful. The owls would always be near my window at night. And the tortoise turtle. He was so cute. He would always come up to me, and I was just feeding him. And the animals, that it was just such oneness in the desert. It was just so, and I was alone. I was living alone, so I didn't have a lot of distractions around me, and I was able to live in oneness there. And when I moved there, I went through a traumatic time in my life, and I was able to heal and really understand why I was seeing a lot of things after this incident that happened. I was seeing a lot of things on the other side. I didn't know what it was, and until I started studying Almin, everything just fell into place, and I had a better understanding as to what was going on with me. And I know that
I have a curiosity that was sparked when you were talking about your first experience there in Arizona, and the word perfection really jumped at me, because you said everything had to be perfect from the outer, right? Nobody's talking about the inner perfection, but I want to hear how that principle has impacted you. Do you see? Do you prefer? No, that's not prefer. Do you prepare yourself in the same manner now that you own your own space? Do you find that you need to be perfect in the same way?
That's a good question.
How that
I'm sorry.
Definition of perfection has, now that you've been in the spirit of perfection, translates into your life in your own space.
Correct. You know, the energy is so different in the desert. The desert was a more pristine, clear energy there. So I had the opportunity to really live my life in solitude and be at one with everything, and study me. When I moved to Louisiana, it's very dense here, so I had to. I fell back into. I sort of felt like I descended, you know, and I was not as connected, but I was able to pull myself out of that, and you feel shut off from it. But technically, I really needed to get myself connected with this land here and everything around me. So, and that usually takes about 3 to 6 months when I move to do that. But
okay, wow.
But knowing with like the inner family, that's one of the things that when I'm living with my parents and my dad is sick, and I just felt all this density in there. You know, he was very ill, and I would also I would just lay there, and the Harakinet meditation. It's like my body had all just sort of went into that, because I meditate quite often. And I remember lying there, and I just felt all this density just go right into my, in the Harakinet area. And it just transformed everything into a light. So I know my body was filtering out a lot of density around me. A lot of my family, you know, things that they were carrying over the years that we all do. And, you know, I felt like I was here to absorb that and transform that. And it really made a difference in my dad's passing. So, and my family.
I know you were a great pillar in your family in transmuting at the time. Thank you for sharing. And I know that you were in a full acceptance of the experience. So just wanted to honor that. And people that don't know about the Haraknit, do you want to explain briefly what is the Haraknit, my love?
Yes, it's working with the black waters and in the Hara area at below the belly button, the powerhouse.
It's behind the belly button.
Behind the belly button, it's like a cauldron. And when you are in this space, you just allow everything to come through you, and it churns like Almeen said, like a washing machine, and it just cleanses everything. And you don't really think of everything that's coming through, because if you did, you probably would just want to get up and go away. But you just allow it and not think. You just have to turn off your mind and just allow it to flow through and churn and transmute that energy into the light, so that the rivers can flow through your body.
Yeah. So it's not black waters from dirt. It's black water from another reality.
Correct.
It's another reality where the water being black doesn't mean they're impure. And one of the things that was impactful for me when Almeen created this meditation, which I have listened to it endlessly as well, is she says, drop the stories. Like I could see myself dropping the books into the waters until all the pages dissolve, until there's no story, there's no paper, there's no book, there's no cover, there's no hardcover, there's absolutely nothing you're hanging on to. So you go to that place to dissolve the illusions of your life.
Exactly. So true. Yes.
Thank you.
And the more that that happened, you know, my dad when he was here, and when we were growing up, he could never express his love to everyone. But I know he loved us, but he could never express it. Thank goodness he was able to towards the end of his time, and we all had peace. But I know that's because of this energy that was just here, because I remember coming, visiting back in 2005 when Katrina came in. I was in Arizona, and I told my parents, I said, this is 6 months before it happened. I said, you have to.
Did you say it's a Katrina is a hurricane? I don't know if you said that.
Katrina was a hurricane.
Yes. Okay. It's not a visitor, not your cousin. It's a hurricane. Category
Hurricane.
what, 4 or something like this?
Off the charts. I mean,
Yes.
technically, New Orleans should not even be here, but I know that I have a tendency when I go places that I tune into weather changes, or I mean, literally every time I went to visit Louisiana, there was a flood or a hurricane. When I went to Florida, there were 5 hurricanes. So everywhere I go, there are hurricanes or floods and this and that. And whenever there's bad weather, just like a few weeks ago, I have to stay in my room and just filter everything that comes through, because it affects me, the weather, a lot.
Well, it's actually, you are in train with the weather.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. And if you can clear within yourself, because we are our environment, but we have different emphasis. And I have noticed, and it's not in vain that I always felt like very close to you as a sister, because I create the same thing. You know, I go and it's like tropical storm in Portugal. They're not on the tropic. Hello. But I go there and it happens. But this is a blessing. It's nothing that people go, is it good, is it bad? Well, it's a purification, calling chaos to a higher order. That's
correct.
all. Yeah, so it's a blessing that you are doing all this, and it's incredible. And you know, you by proxy have taken this role to transmute the density into lightness. So this is one of the gifts that you bring to humanity. So thank you so much for doing that. I'm gonna give it to Kathleen. I know that she has lots of beautiful things to share with us.
I love this. It's so beautiful to hear everything that you're sharing, Linda.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. You know, one would never know what another one is doing, really.
That is more too. I mean, I traveled around the world. I lived in Israel, I lived in South Africa. There are stories behind that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
The awareness you have of the at oneness with your environment, because this cause and effect kind of doesn't, you know, can't really register that.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps we'll hear a little about those places. And one of the things that Sandra said was chaos into order.
Correct.
And that we are this body, and through the presence and awareness that you're speaking about, and the amazing, you know, the way that you have these tools that you both naturally have, and when you have them naturally and you add a knowledge or your perception increases, and therefore your abilities increase to be more quick, perhaps, with the transformation or the transmutation that is happening through your body.
If I may say this, it happens so quickly that, for instance, just the other day, on the original one's site, it said that Almeen said that we are the doulas, the death doulas. And I have actually been playing that part years ago, not even realize it. Every time there was a death or something, there was you know, I was there, and there was just the transfer from them, you know, going to the other side. When my dad passed, I was able to be with him during his laboring, and I played the beautiful music from Healing of the Heart, Almeen's music, and And I know that his transition was just was so sweet. And because he came to me and he said, "Thank you for the music." And he didn't know when he was here but when he was on the other side, he came to me and validated it for me. And I played it. He was in horrible laboring for about 5 days. And I stood by him, and I was there when he took his last breath. And I was playing Almin's music, and it was just so amazing. It really was. And then I hear this death doula and what she said about it, and it just valid everything that I question or things that have gone through my life. I mean, within months, weeks, days, there's a validation that comes, because I'm always on target of listening and getting the information from her. And it just validates everything that I do. And I'm so appreciative of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's so many things.
It's full time.
It's like, because she's come to me in dreams. I hear her speak, and like she gives me validations, in my thoughts, with her beautiful voice, and she's just my teacher.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
There are times I can't really talk about it because I'm, again, you're living in the linear time or non-linear time or whatever. Sometimes it's hard to shift, but when I can speak about it, it makes me feel so much better. And thank you so much for inviting me.
It's very much like a cloud, so it feels like your description of your being there with your father.
Yeah. Back in 2001, my fiance perished in a plane crash, and after that, my entire life changed. And this is when this began. And I fell to the ground when I found out the plane crash, and I came up, and then everything in my entire life, I still was seeing everything. I was hearing things. I heard the trees, they were singing to me, and the angels, everything. And I didn't know what it was. But in 2000, actually it was 2003 when I first read about Almin, but I didn't really get to meet her until 2010. And again, she just validated absolutely everything in my understanding as to those times and tragics that I've been through.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's the depthness of the inner space that gives us the gift of feeling the most that is there for us to experience. And the carving of the inner space is something that we've been practicing for a while, but in what I have seen, that the protocol of the Fountain of Plenitude, it's like, I'm gonna use the same word that you use, it's the doula for carving inner spaces.
Yes.
Because for as long as we have the inner dialogue, that chatter, that space is taken.
Correct.
So, and you, when I contacted you, Linda, and telling you that the protocol of the Fountain of Plenitude, it was available, and I felt like you really needed to take this protocol. It was almost like I was not even inviting you. I was telling you, you have to do this.
And I'm glad that you were persistent, because I was really going through some times, and then every day I was going through my sessions.
It's not my style, to push. Like, I'm pushy, but when it comes to oh, you have to do this, you have to. No, I don't, but I really felt inside me strongly. I think it was right after the transitioning of your father, the
It
protocol,
was. I was going through
right,
that and
honey?
my business and everything on top of that. And I carved out that time. I think I told you that it was at night that when I had my time. And I felt so rejuvenated after that. And then when I woke up after going through all of the, the protocols that we were going through and the points here and here with the gashua and everything and the rulers, I and then you look in the mirror the next day and you're just shining. And then I go to work and I felt all energetic and everything fell into place because everything was harmonizing inside. And it all made sense with the runes, um, you know,
The oils,
oils. Yes, it
the,
all fell
the
into
messages.
place.
I clearly remember when you told me that at the beginning you were like experiencing, like releasing, you were tired, and then it shifted, and then you were like, oh my God, I have so much energy after I do the acupressure protocol of the face and I listen to everything. So there was also many shift, and I remember seeing your transformation when we had the Zoom calls, that you would come always at a different level of luminosity. And
Right.
this is like my greatest, my happiest experience to see before my eyes how people transform through their dedication and their tools.
Well, it almost works with you before it's time to do it because, for instance, the liver meridian and the pericardial meridians, I was having issues physically. And then I didn't know what was going to come up the next day. And and it was like, oh, well, this is why I was having this problem. So and the release just came right in, and then it opened something else up, and then it opened something else up. It might, and the beauty of this whole work is because, we're all, this is, these are the attached to your, uh, the chakras here and
Yes.
everything about, and I already have protocols that I was doing years and years ago, which now I have an inner knowing of how this affected, um, you know, my clients and myself if I did it on myself. So it was a education beyond, because I never could explain it. Why, when I touched someone and this energy came in. Um, I had one lady on TripAdvisor. She's from New Zealand, and she said when I walk in and then I come out, it's like she brings in heaven and earth together. And that was on the TripAdvisor years ago. And I didn't know, but this is exactly what the Fountain of Plenitude, this is what this does. It brings in, it elevates you so much that the rivers can flow, the waters can flow, and energies, and then you become, you affect everything around you, your whole environment, the people around you.
That's so beautifully said. I never get enough of listening their unique perspective of each one of you beautiful ones. Truly.
Yeah.
Kathleen,
That's,
is there
I had thought of the heaven on earth. When you were
Yes.
speaking earlier, Linda, I definitely saw you as a being who brings heaven and earth together. It's amazing.
and it's just there, and and these tools allow it to happen with understanding instead of not knowing, being in the dark about it, but you feel it, but you can't understand it, and you wonder why, what is this? And then you ascend, and then you descend, and you come back, but this keeps you there.
Yeah.
These tools.
And you mentioned, say you mentioned the liver, or no, the lung and the pericardium, I think.
The liver.
Or the liver. So
Yes.
you're getting to know your body. So was there a sign? Was there a sore place on your body? How do you know that organ was talking to you? And
I was having pains. I was having pains here. I was having these pains. And then it was like days before, or the day before, or day of that night that we were studying that particular meridian or that particular organ. And it just opened up and I felt the release. It was almost like a computer program. And, we already have the Fountain of Plenitude protocol. And here I'm in my dense body. But it was a meeting of everything and just going through it and listening to it and the angel gods. It's almost like the angel gods were there. And, when I would go through the ceremonies and the protocols and listening to the music, the beautiful music about me, it just released everything. And then you knew, you had an understanding as to what was going on in your body that before you didn't. So when my mother has her back problems, or, my mother's in a wheelchair one day, or in a cane, and then I help her, I come and I do what I can for her. And she knows my healing abilities.
Yes.
My dad didn't really understand it, but I think he did at the end, because I was able to really be with him and talk to him.
So
I want to say something because it was lingering after what I read from the book Secrets of Rejuvenation. It ends about balancing. It ends with the balancing of the black and the white light, and people do not really understand this concept. Well, it took me a while to understand it. So this is just a clarification on the subject. When we have an excess of black light, an excess of black light, that means that the body is prone to illness or is already expressing a distortion. So that's why the balance is important. And how do we balance this in a much more graceful way than listening to the sound elixirs of the Seer Amin? Because this is what they do. They balance the light and frequency in the body, the black and the light and the white light frequency. They come into balance by just listening to the elixirs. And this is absolutely no mind required. So the issue with having sadness, pain, the distorted emotions, the dysfunctional emotions, is that when you are in that hurricane of emotions, you can't come out of it. You can't reach out. You don't, people either have a conversation, which is a monologue, or they retreat. So how do you get out? So I tell people, play the elixir for how is that you feeling? Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling abandoned? Okay, so play the elixir for the small intestine meridian.
I totally
right?
I agree.
Like you don't have to turn into the Rolling Stones. You turn into the elixirs, and then it's graceful. It's totally graceful. But having that awareness to interrupt the pattern, it is what makes the cuts the line in between low and high consciousness. It is not that you're not going to roll down the ditch. Yes, you're going to roll down the ditch, but I know I'm going down the ditch. It's not like, where am I? Like just that awareness. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going down the ditch, but I'm going to play my music. So my rolling down is graceful.
I agree with that.
I may learn a trick or two while I'm going down there. It's just a surrender. It's a way of not opposing life, just allowing. And when we go deep into that, it's not that we're going to act into the emotions, but this is how we carve the inner space by allowing the feelings to run deep and recognize, oh, I know I'm going into my mad side now. Wow. It's really clear. And I know what triggers this. I didn't have this piece before. So guess what? I'm in a much better place than I was. So the other thing I wanted to say, and then I'll give it back to you, my beautiful, is that I joined I'm not going to name this organization because we don't need to, but I joined for some programs for self-help programs. And I said to myself, I really need to understand how humans are thinking. I have forgotten. I want to know what's going on there. So one thing alone, and if we get one thing out of everything that you experience, I watch a movie, what did I get? What was my takeaway? If I can nail one thing,
There's always a message.
Yes. I read a book. Wow. What was the mess? What was one thing I learned that I didn't know before?
Correct.
So anyway, what I learned from this group was that language is consciousness. So we can have all the consciousness into a concept, but it's not anchored in the physical. And we are the spirit, we are the soul, and we're the body. And with the protocol of the Fountain of Plenitude, and with this spiritual journey that we've been walking with Almi, is to unify. It's like, it's funny, we have the triangulation, the three of us here, and is what was our intention before starting was that we are one voice of expressing the infinite intent. So this is the ultimate goal, to bring those three pieces into oneness, and together they're stronger. So the part of the body is anchoring the language. So once the brain will seek and seek and seek and seek, what does this mean? What does this mean? But it's instant recognition, like boom, download it. I can move on. I don't have to be thinking. I don't have to be looking for information. It's instant anchoring of the information. So language and clear language. Why do people don't get their heart's desires? There's so many reasons, but one of the reasons is their question they're asking is not clear. How many times in the retreats with the Seer Amin, people start asking a question, they're like rambling into a labyrinth. And then she has to say to them, please write your question. Because when you write your question, you have come to a point of more clear understanding what you are really saying. So language is a great gift. And language, we have this, what I read in the language of the infinite, and all of us have hidden languages within ourselves. And the importance of these languages to be activated is because they repattern the brain, activating different perspectives and different perception, because our reality is determined by the perspective. I remember in one of the films of one of the famous actors that decided to transition on his own. It was actually Dead Poets Society, I think is the name of the film. Something so simple. So he was talking to his students. He was a teacher, and I think it's Robin Williams actually. And he jumped on the desk, and he says, "It's a totally new perspective. It's something else happening now. I'm not on the floor. I'm on the desk." So, and one of my favorite angel gods from the Kanish Belvaspata healing modality brought by the Seer Amin is that you ask for the ability to see all perspectives.
That's the gift.
It's like, I melt when I call this angel God, because it really saves a lot of trouble. It keeps us in a place of expansion, in a place where there is no you and me. It's like, I can see what you're seeing, and I can see what the neighbor is seeing. And together we bring this kaleidoscope of incredible experiences. It's not just one reality, one truth. No, we become everything. So for me, this is one of my favorite angel gods. So I think I spoke a lot already.
That's fantastic. It's wonderful. Thank you so much, because You know, you hit on one subject about Almin's the music, the alchemy of the music, and the canceling out the black light, the black frequency. When there's chaos around, I usually turn on Almin very low, very faint. Even though they can't hear it, it's still working into the environment, canceling it out. Just the voice and just the tones of her voice. And I play that very often in my home. I play it at work. I play in my car. You know, it doesn't even have to, you don't even have to really listen to her. It's just having those, the voice, the energy,
the
tones, exactly.
Yeah.
Around, and
because she sings just in the solfeggio scale, in the G scale of the Gregorian and Dominican monks in the medieval ages. So it's been banned by the church. I'm not gonna go into which church, but the church, because its powers for liberating the soul are so enormous. Right. So this is the power of the high octave. So it's incredible. Thank you, Linda.
You're welcome. Thank you, for sure.
I think the languages are so varied. They're not only through sound of the voice, they're through anything that has a frequency, which is, I don't know, maybe everything. It's light through your body. You know, when you place your hands on the bodies of clients. I mean, your senses have a communication from within, and then when something comes to your senses, yes, be it touch or be it, you know, we know there's so many more senses on the inside. It's like we're transitioning from you know, being in, you know, all in the external, and I'm certainly learning how the internal has so many senses. So I'm just
in our internal family.
And our inner family. I mean, there's a wealth of it. There's a wealth of it, and yeah, we're learning so much.
I have communications with my inner family. It's like I have a problem, my warrior steps in, and if I'm sad, the nurturer steps in. So it's just like I communicate, and I feel I have this inner communication that has totally transformed my needs for external needs, that I'd rather go within, and that really helps me get through my day, or helps me get through a bad situation, something that I really have no control over. Yeah. But if I had that inner communication, it helps me pull through my problems.
Actually, you've reminded me, I'd love to hear more as well, but you've reminded me that it was the Fountain of Plenitude, that I believe around that time that my own inner family straightened itself up, you know, because I've had like, I was able to look back and say, oh, wow, that warrior part of me really never got its full chance, hasn't had its, you know, its 100% ability. And now it feels like it has. And, you know, it's when the emotions that have been getting in the way of your true, pure emotions are cleared, are correct, dissolved, or are stopped from being a block.
Right. Because you're not thinking here, you're thinking here, and you're turning this off, and you're allowing that communication level. And when you can tune into that, that's when change becomes, your environment changes, is when this speaks, and you listen to it. And because I remember at one time I was always felt like I had an internal war going on, and I was always just struggling for everything. And I thought, you know, I'm meditating, I'm doing this, and I'm reading this, and I'm trying to do everything. But when I found my inner family, then I was able to navigate my life in a different perspective and a different light that changed my life tremendously.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it's not like you're putting anything on or you're taking someone's teachings, you know, and then following them ABC. It's, you've got it already. It's you.
Correct.
It's what you.
Right. And the thing is, I mean, I always knew that we had another brain, but I didn't know there was a whole communication, level. I mean, I knew like bits and pieces of this, but when it comes together in a light of understanding and it activates within yourself, it's the activation that transforms everything, not just going through it or going through the motions or whatever. When I read some of these things about me, I'm such a rust nut, and I'm like, I just do this speed reading, but my subconscious is like downloading the sigils and this and that, and I pull on these sigils later, maybe even on a non-conscious level, but I just know that it works. I wish I could do this full time. That's what I really wanted to do when I was traveling the world. But things, brought me here, and this is where I'm supposed to be. And, there's I just transmitted a lot of things here, and
It's beautiful.
and moving forward day to day.
Mm.
Yeah. So just try and keep it simple as much as I can and go about my day and just allow the energy to work through me the way it's supposed to be, and just not think about it, just allow it to happen. I've learned to just keep my mouth quiet and just watch and observe everything around me. Because when I'm in a confrontation or when something's askew or whatever, I just sit back and I'll listen and I'll allow. And that's whenever the alchemy of everything just changes. To me, it's
So, Linda, you did both protocols so far, right, my love? Phase 1 and phase 2.
well,
Yes, right?
that I've only completed one. I purchased the second. I just couldn't do. I have it right here, and I'm waiting on the next time that we have another. When
Yes.
you're ready.
Yeah, another
Yeah.
live
I have
session.
everything here. Right, another session.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
read through it. In fact, I've got the printouts.
It's funny you say that, because today I said the day to Anita, we're gonna do it July 13. So
Good.
that's
I'm
when we're gonna
calendar
have
that.
it. Yes, but the other thing I wanted to ask, because you are savoring all the tools and they make so much difference in you, hence your environment and your family, whether they understand what you're doing or not, but the shift is undeniable. So what would you say was a moment, a pivot point for you on the phase 1 of the protocol, the Fountain of Plenitude? What was the pivot point where you had the aha moment, or where you say, wow, my life will never be the same again?
In my dreams, I had expanded dreams, and I know that Almeen was in the dreams. I remember her. I haven't written down, but I just remember her being like in the room, and it was very dense, and they were, I don't know if they were people, they were just people that were just trying to free themselves of this density. And we were just, it was like tons of people, and we were just gathering them and leading them into a different direction for freedom. But I guess the dreams, and more so too, the understanding of each point and each, and how it connects to each body and organ, and opening up these channels. And then my own personal experiences of feeling my body where I had problems and things, the energy was stuck. And the very next day, it was there waiting for me to release what the problem was. I remember one time I thought I was going to have to go to the emergency room because I was doubling over, and I thought my whole side was, I thought my liver was just something was wrong, or my kidney. It was just all this below me, and the more that I each day something was released to allow that energy, and then at the end I just felt like I could just levitate. I was so light. Literally, I had to go take a walk outside and ground myself because it was unbelievable.
It's beautiful. Wow. I am so glad I invited you to be here because I am learning so much more and expanding my vision, and you are a great part in this. And I remember this part of the dreams because you and few others have expressed this part that their dream time changed during the protocol.
It did.
So, and it's important to live the dream time, and because it's not about just remembering, it's about the feelings and the emotions that are evoked in while we are in that space, and then bring those bring the awareness that we experience in the dream time, bring the awareness into the awakened time, so then we can magnify the gift.
I agree 100% because, like I said, I meditate, and there are times when I don't know if I'm actually dreaming or in a dream or if it's truly happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so in another space that it's very difficult for me to write it down. 10 years ago, 2010, when I did Kahuna Kavesta 1, I journaled. In fact, I found the book, my journaling. I couldn't believe some of the things that I wrote. I had no idea that I wrote this down. And I just found it 2 weeks ago. And I was able to go back that far. And I knew some of these things were happening, but it was validated. And this was 10 years ago. Because as time goes on, it sort of it depletes itself, or the memory goes away. But then when you read it, it's amazing that you really did experience that, because you really thought you were in a dream and it was in actual real time. But there are a lot of times I'm in a dream, and I'm in the dream knowing that I'm dreaming, so I'm trying to change the dream. And then when I'm awake, I try and change, mark my place, because I know we're always dreaming and awake. Even when we're awake, we're dreaming. So I try and change the dream if it's going into a wrong direction.
Mm-hmm.
By having that, some kind of
true power. Exercising the true power, changing the script.
Right.
It's wonderful. It's like you're an example of fluidity, and not holding on to not being tense. So and yet because you've written something from over 10 years ago, that you're able to value just value and see the gems. And so to me, I just see that the gems are so accessible. They're in the fluidity of your flowing life, and they're part of the gifts that you give people. And the Fountain of Plenitude is our own work on ourselves, so that we're beneficial to others in our community, our family. And it's a commitment to do it, but it's not work.
No, it's not. It's finding that space to free yourself of the day-to-day world, the linear time. And when you're in a small and when you're really in a space where you're not alone, it's very difficult. And you're running a business, and you have caretaking and so many things at one time.
Yeah. Well, I'm enthused to I think make the commitment of the 28 days myself, and
I'm definitely ready.
yeah, I feel like doing it again. And so this, just if people who are listening don't know that you can do it yourself, or you can do it with support, which means the daily Belvaspita blessings and healings. But it really would be easiest to do it with a group of people the first time, and also to feel the live Belvaspita.
Yes, we had someone we interview, I believe, last previous interview. She said that having that sense of community meant a lot to her. And it's not only, it's the Zoom calls, it's the emails, the questions. So there is a hand-holding experience that it's not
and that's what, sister, that you helped me with, because I sort of struggle with groups, and you have a way of directing that and pulling everything together and organizing, and I really appreciate that about you, because you've helped me along the way. I, for years, never knew how to express myself, and I always kept this in, and I wanted to express it. But thank you so much for allowing and giving me the hope and trusting myself that I can speak. This is probably the first time I've really talked about this as much as I have to anyone right now.
Oh, I'm blessed to hear that.
So much. I really appreciate that.
So the angels really always listen. This is what I ask, our expression. Yeah. Be the infinite intent, may our throat be the vehicle for this expression from our untainted hearts, right? So I am so happy to hear that you're starting and will continue and to express more and more, because with the more of us that are fully expressing, the more we will live heaven on earth.
Exactly.
And
you being there, together and working together, I feel that I'm able to express it in a way that I, want to get this out, because it's been years and I don't know how to do it. It's, it was difficult for me to come on today. I don't know.
Oh my goodness. It's like, it's similar for me too. I feel like divine timing is occurring.
Correct.
Yeah, it's definitely divine timing. And speaking of timing, I know that where you're living, Linda, it's like very, very late in the night or very early in the morning.
It's almost 2 o'clock in the morning.
There we go. And where I am,
but I don't feel it. I feel like it's 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock.
It's timeless.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's just your devotion that is showing up here across the board. You're sharing, and you be blessed beyond your wildest imaginings. You will be a recipient of huge blessings, because today you really stepped out of the old paradigm of who you thought you were, and you really decided to be your true essence today. And I'm so excited that we're going to be able to offer the Fountain of Plenitude somewhere in this year, 21. We are planning in beautiful Louisiana with my beautiful sister, Linda. And I feel that is going to be of an enormous opening for you, where you can truly be and share who you really are.
Well, I definitely couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much.
Well, everything I can do, I'm here.
I really
Thank you.
appreciate that.
And yes, I'm looking forward to this year. And also looking forward to our next group. We started having people registering. I am so excited for June 1st for the protocol phase 1, the Fountain of Plenitude. And I will be starting to send the invitation letter to those that are on my email list, and whomever is interested can drop me a line at sandra@healingoftheheart.com or to Kathleen. We are in this cooperating together with the Infinite's plan.
Marvelous.
And these, if you haven't seen them already, these are some of the tools that you use daily. And I love the eye, and you know, I love like clearing the ear with pressing. I also have passed it on to so far just acupressure to my children, to ask them to do this to themselves. It's one of the most caring things. It's like a wake up.
It
You know,
is.
it's just like your own little facial. But
I love the washa on the chin that goes around.
That's very good. Yeah. And I love the mat here.
I mean, all the points have their gift, right? And just learning where is the point of the madness. If you are like going mad or a headache, you know, learning the points in the forehead, what are the, so, and activating the genius. And we are moving on to reality with this as effortless knowing and graceful change.
Absolutely.
So, you know, it's like there's no need to waste the sleepless nights trying to find a solution. The solution was created before the question. So anyway, it's a whole new way of living, a new whole way of being, and we want everybody to have a chance to experience this new reality.
It's incredible. It really is. It's incredible. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Linda, if people want to get hear more about you, do you have an email address that you want to share, or anything like that, a website or anything?
I do. I have a website. It's luminousadvancedesthetics.com, and you can get in touch with me there. I have my email is luminousadvancedesthetics@gmail.com.
Thank you, Linda.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Pleasure.
Lovely meeting you, and thank you so much, Sandra. And we'll see you again soon.
Thank you,
Take care.
ladies. I really appreciate it. I love you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Blessings.